Alright, gather around and let's get started. Do remember your goggles. Alright, I am recording this as a live stream, so you can check it out on the playlist, I think. Alright, you got that. And alright, ready? And who said they were doing the door? Alright. I have some gloves over there. Nope, it's this. Right. Oh, that one. Pull out. Alright. Hey. Alright, Molly, what was A?
89.347 grams of clay sand, 0.32 copper oxide, 14.95 grams of borax, and 30.16 calcium carbonate, and then 40.6 grams of washing soda.
So I didn't know it was A. I would have.
Oh yeah, so basically as soon as he's done with the flame, just go ahead.
Yeah.
Alright, so that one's poured fairly nicely. And we'll talk about the color more once it cools down. And on to B. What was B?
80 grams of SiO2, 13 grams of borax, 7 grams of Fe2O3, 45 grams of Na2CO3, and 20 grams of CaCO3.
Yeah, you can start to see, even just now, a bit of a difference in the colors. Alright, next up is C. Notice a very different pour for this one.
That is 90.5 grams of Fisher purified silica, 50.3 grams of sodium carbonate, 25.0 grams of calcium carbonate, and 0.12 grams of manganese oxide.
Yeah, so that one had more silica in the batch. I noticed it poured different.
A quick suggestion on the crucible grab. That one has a particular radius, so that you need to get pretty close to the top of the crucible to get a higher color grab. So if you grab too low, it just kind of sits on the cup holder.
Okay.
So a little bit higher would be
Alright.
restrike the line quick. Restrike the line quick. Okay.
We did it.
It is 90.02 grams of sandbox sand, 50.63 grams of sodium carbonate, 25.07 grams calcium carbonate heavy, 1.04 grams of sodium sulfate.
Let's go ahead and fire polish that. Those broken parts. Yeah. Go ahead and hit that again. Try to get that. Back off just a little bit now. That's good. And now go over the whole disc again one more time. And that'll, that's the straight line there.
Teams red book. Which one? E should be right.
Restrike again. Just point back.
Yep. Alright. Go ahead and hit it.
It is 79.85 grams of mason sand, 55 grams of sodium carbonate, 30.5 grams of calcium carbonate, and 0.259 grams of copper oxide.
How many grams of the mason?
79.85.
Yeah, so again, lower amount of silica, so a little bit better flow. Also, mason sand is a bit impure, so there's already impurity there. Notice the flow, it really flowed very good. Definitely.
That was ours.
What was in those?
So we mixed up the numbers. That was the one I was talking about last week. So I
But just out of curiosity, do we know what that is? Is that a higher amount?
100 grams of silica beach sand, 20 grams of sodium carbonate, 45 grams of crushed limestone, and chromium oxide.
What was the last one?
chromium oxide.
Boron oxide?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's just what it says.
So, what happened, I think, is that this one used high calcium, low sodium. And so you can see what happens when you invert those. The sodium is definitely the more aggressive flux. And so this one made a thicker, more like the slag we've been talking about with you adding limestone to the blast furnace. So this is a much, much, much thicker glass. This would probably have to hit another 500 degrees for it to flow quite like this. So even if it was a mistake, in a sense, it's also interesting because you can see what would happen if we just back off significantly on the sodium flux. And so it's still glass, it's just really high viscosity at this temperature. So, and you're hearing a chorus of what's called crazing, as there's differential shrink rate between the glass and the ceramic. So every time you hear that sound, a new little crack forms in the glass that's laminated on the surface of the ceramic. So, yeah, that's what it will eventually be quite a chorus of sound.
We got another pair. It's right-handed.
I've got more of the drawing board.
I'll be
What do we have?
Focus on that little piece of fiberglass on the edge where that's pulling a little bit.
Alright, let's go ahead and stamp it.
80.316 of purified silica, 55.86 grams of sodium carbonate, 29.6 calcium carbonate, 0.113 grams of copper oxide, 0.101 grams of manganese oxide, and 1.06 grams of sodium sulfate.
So if you get a little bit closer, you can start to see the different colors. For these two, you'll notice that there's that coppery color up on top. That is the copper, so they put in copper oxide, but with the flame, it ends up getting reduced to just simply copper. So, flame reduction. Alright, stamp it.
90 grams of silica sand, 10 grams of calcium borate silicate, 45.1 grams of sodium carbonate, 20.3 grams of calcium carbonate heavy, 0.13 grams of chromium oxide. That is 95.28 grams of silica, 45.4 grams of sodium carbonate, 24.03 grams of calcium carbonate, 0.1248 grams of manganese oxide, and 1.1033 grams of sodium sulfate.
Again, notice higher silica, that's thicker flow. Nothing to write there. Okay. Alright, let's stamp it.
Is 40.02 grams of Fisher silica, 39.95 grams of sandbox play sand, 4.5 grams of borax, 24.98 grams of sodium carbonate, 25.01 grams washing soda, 15.03 calcium carbonate, light powder, 15.03 calcium carbonate, heavy powder, and 0.5 copper oxide.
You can see that copper color coming in up top. Yeah. Alright, let's go ahead and stamp it.
79.02 grams of Fisher silica, 9.79 grams of sandbox play sand, 49.96 grams of sodium carbonate, 25.01 grams of calcium carbonate heavy, 0.05 grams of chromium oxide, 0.1515 grams of copper oxide, and 1.02 grams of sodium sulfate.
Last one. Alright, let's stamp it.
90.1 grams mason sand, 50.1 grams sodium carbonate, 25.95 grams of crushed limestone, 1.1 grams chromium oxide.
So we're going to let these cool down a bit. And we'll talk a little bit about volcanoes and whatnot. And then we'll take a look at them again when they cool down. Any questions up to this point? Alright. You can set the blowtorch on the counter there.
No, I've been right there. Right there. Starts getting pretty.
Oh,